Good afternoon, everyone. My presentation today is going to be about Acumen Fuse, giving the one-stop shop for project analytics. My name is Amardeep, and I'm the Business Development Manager for OTC Optima. And we basically, as OTC Optima, we have two streams, or two areas of business. One is the project management consultancy area, which we concentrate on implementing integrated project controls environment. And earned value and risk is one of the core ingredients within our integrated project controls. And also the second one is the Fuse business area, which I look after and trying to develop and make this business unit a success. So basically, we initially bought Fuse for our business reviews, and what happened is that it was helping us a lot. Instead of taking us days, even weeks to do a review, was taking us an amount of hours. So we then became the sole UK and European distributor for Fuse. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is basically what is Fuse, the key features of Fuse. Our current major release is version 3, which was given to us last month, and I'll talk to you about what the new features are. The benefits of Fuse, customization and reporting capabilities. We'll give you then a live demo, so Terry will demonstrate a live version of Fuse and how it works, and any questions at the end. So what is Fuse? Fuse is a metric analysis visualization tool that assesses quality of schedules, looks at risk and earned value, and also looks at project performance, so from the start of your project to the end. And also uses what's called libraries of metrics. So it gives a user the unique insight into how to analyze your projects and improve your schedules and multiple projects. So it doesn't have to be just, for example, Microsoft project. It could be from any platform, any integration. So what's taken typically schedulers and project managers days can be done in minutes and repeated. Also, it quickly pinpoints any problematic areas and activities within your project and gives you a resolution to this. So what are the key features? You have the project analysis, which looks at achieving well-built realistic plans, gives you the determination of where project cost overruns and what risk hotspots are happening, and more importantly, why this is happening. Slice and dice, so create groups of activities based on any attribute of code and apply the metrics to these specific groupings for targeted analysis. Trend evaluation, so pinpoint changes in your schedule between two or more projects. Performance tracking, so visualize your project performances from start to finish. Compare current project snapshots to past and future plans. And also custom reporting, so you can quickly generate a Word or PDF format. The exec reporting is something that is a default in Fuse, but also your custom reporting. So API is something that we integrate with now, giving you the ability to create your own reports. So these features basically allow you to have 3 analysis modules in one tool. So you have your metric analysis, which giving you the default metric library is over 250 already included, and these ones you can change or create your own. Logic analysis, so quickly pinpoint your logic links, your weaknesses, looking at, for example, leads, lags, any redundant logic. And also forensic analysis, so giving the ability to compare schedules, identify any changes, and find out where those delays are occurring. So, like I said, we had a major release last month called version 3, and that is basically focused on adding new features and functions based on direct requests from users. We now, you can run an analysis, you can report the errors, but also you can remove them within Fuse. Before, you had to import it back into your planning tool and make the changes there. But with Fuse 3, you can actually cleanse the schedule, within Fuse and then send it back to a planning tool. So what are the new features? The schedule cleanser, like I said, which is giving you the ability to clear your redundant logic, for example, and then import it back. The visualizing of the timeline, so you can actually see quickly your activities across the timeline. You can zoom in, zoom out. Logic trace, so see which activities are preceding or succeeding that. And you have the drill down analysis, which is actually drilling down and actually looking at specific ribbons and allowing you to analyze that using metrics. So what are the benefits? You can see in the first diagram, you've got a combination of creating custom reporting, like I said, using the API, compare multiple schedules with forensic analysis, slice and dice the analysis using metrics, and remove any schedule flaws within Fuse. Also, you have the multi-platform integration, so you can use MSP, you can use Primavera, the core ones like Asta, and also if you're using RISC, you can import Master, or shall I say, Oracle Primavera analysis software. So, like I said, it gives you the ability to import multiple data platforms. So whether it's Microsoft projects, whether it's Primavera, whether it's Asta, and you can compare those projects or schedules and merge them with cost, like I said, cost, risk, and own value. So if we look at customization, you've got the ability to edit the standard metrics that you've got, or create your own metrics. The default is around about 250 plus, and that's rising. And some of the examples I've got here is looking at own value, looking at your baseline, DCMA, and also you've got the ability to customize your dashboard, so for quick insight into your project status or metric results. You have the reporting capabilities. Like I said, you've got your standard exec briefing or detailed analyst reports. And you've also got the Fuse API, which you can integrate with and generate custom reports using MS SharePoint or any third-party applications. So you can use Primavera Web, for example. All you need is, it's language independent, so you can, anybody who's got XML experience, you can create your own custom reporting. What I'm going to do now is pass you on to Terry, and we'll give you a live demonstration of Fuse.
I'm assuming you can hear me. This is not PowerPoint. This is Fuse. It's a standalone tool, or it can be on a server. There's no Oracle database. There's no Access database. And what I'm doing, I'm opening what I call a workbook, which comprises 5 Microsoft project plans. Across the top here, as Deeps was saying, you can see that we can import data from Primavera, Asta, Excel, all the common tools. You don't need to have that tool on your PC to import the data. Can you see okay? If I scroll across the display, oh, wrong mouse, sorry. If I scroll across the display, you can see all the sorts of data that I've imported. And Fuse is set up so it knows what user fields you've created. So in Primavera, if you've created 30 or 40 user fields, Fuse will import those. In Microsoft Project, if you've created any text fields or numeric fields, it will automatically look for those and import them. Within Fuse, you can actually do a timeline. Whoops, sorry. And the timeline will enable me to look at the project at a fairly high level and just get an idea of the timescale of the project. I can zoom in and zoom out of the project by sliding up and down. It's important to bear in mind, this is not a planning tool. This is an analytical tool. Your real scheduling and planning will still be done in Primavera MS Project, or Open Plan. I can, if I wish, select another project, and because this project has a number of updates, I will have a separate bar. Oops, your mouse keeps moving. I can have a separate bar for each project or update, so I can see here that in May something has gone wrong. If I wish, by selecting Publish, I can export all of the fields I've imported into Excel or XML. I want now to actually start to look at my data. So the first point of call would tend to be a dashboard. And on this dashboard, I can have up to 14 different layouts. Here, I've got five layouts. This one here is just telling me how many activities are critical and non-critical. This is just a breakdown of how many are summary activities. Here, if I'd had progress on the plan, it will indicate how much actual work, how much is completed. In this area here are what we call ribbons, and I'll explain those in a bit more detail later. And on the left-hand side, in this box, I've got a logic quality panel. And I can see that I have a few problems. So if I click Open Ends, this will take me into the logic area of the tool. And what this is doing, it's looking at the open ends, and it's come up with 2, 4, 6 activities that haven't got any predecessors or any successors. I can go and look at lags. How many lags have I got on my project? No lags. Have I got any logic on summaries? Obviously with MSP you get logic on summaries, Primavera you don't. So immediately I know I've got a problem there. Some idiot's done a logic into a summary. I've got to get rid of it somehow. I can list all my start relationships, and more importantly, I can list my redundant logic. For example, if I look at activity 41 to 48, it's saying logic link 41 to 48 I don't need, because I've got 41 to 42, 42 to 43 and 43 to 48. Therefore I could delete that logic link and it wouldn't mess up the plan. You don't have to delete the logic links, but it makes life a little easier. So I found some logic links that are redundant. So what I can do now is I can say, okay, I want to cleanse this plan, so I can just click remove all redundant logic, and what Fuse will do, it'll go through and remove all those duplicate logic activities, and I'll end up with a thing called, or a scenario called clean, and I can export that back into Primavera or into MSP, and so I can suck my plan in, get rid of all the redundant logic, suck it back into the source tool, and I'm left with my core logic. I'm going to switch now and look at ribbons, which is the core part of Fuse. Ribbons are where we have, as Deeps was saying, 250 metrics which are grouped, and at the bottom here I've got basic metrics, characteristic metrics, and because the most useful one, or the one that people comes across most often, are DCMA, if I select the DCMA metrics and Fuse is looking at my project and applying all the DCMA metrics. The colours are where I've broken a threshold. And what I've got here, I've got standard metrics. These are the metrics that you get when you install the system. I've got no special metrics, no user-defined metrics. These are exactly which is delivered with the system. And it's telling me that I've got 5 activities which are open ends. Down here in the lower section of the plan, it's looked at each of those metrics and it's split it by phase or by time frame. So I can see that I've got 2 logic problems in Q1, I've got 11 high floats in Q1 as well. So as well as on the right hand side doing a total for the project, it's also splitting those metrics down by time frame. I've got high float. I want to know which activities have got high float. Therefore, by clicking on the high float metric, it will just list all the activities that have got high float. I can display that either as a Gantt chart, or I can display it as a complete list of activities, or I could display it as a scorecard, where when you set your metrics up, you can apply some weightings to each metric. And as I scroll across, each activity is given a score. So I can see I've got 2 activities with quite a low score. And at the bottom, there's a total score for those activities that have high float. I can expand any time frame by just clicking on the time frame, and here I've got months. I could go down to days. My MSP plan isn't that good, therefore going down to days would be a waste of time. But I could go down to days, to weeks, to years. I can actually decide a start date and a finish date. So I could say I want a ribbon from date X to date Y. There's no point in just being able to do an analysis by total project. I want to split it up and look at a lower level of detail. And I can select any field that's been imported from Microsoft Project. And if I select location, what happens now is I have the same metrics at the bottom, but on the right-hand side. Let me expand that a little. On the right-hand side, I have the metrics by each one of these items, and I can see that there's nothing on null, therefore I've got a load of activities that haven't got a code, so I can just click down here and it will list those activities that haven't got a code. Alternatively, I could do resources, and if I fuse on here, it will group all those activities by where there is a resource on the activity. So I've got all the design activities, all the engineering activities, and it's applying those metrics just to those activities. As well as that, what I could do is I want to look at resources activities only in Reading. So if I click on Reading and then click resources, this will then show me the activities by resource in Reading. And you can drill down and down and down as much as you like. You can use a WBS for the top level, then you can do resources, then you can do another code. So you can actually find out where the real problems are. As well as looking at individual projects, I can also look at multi-projects. And this is where I would tend to use forensics, and I can compare different projects. And here I've got a baseline project, 2 progress updates, and a new baseline. And I can see that in April, there were no new activities. And then suddenly in May, there's a new activity called risk analysis. And by the time I come to my new baseline, 3 activities have been added. I can look at total costs. Any one of these fields across the top, I can select total costs, and it will look at the total costs across the project. I can group by any field, and as it's a Microsoft project, I only want to look at normal activities, and it goes through each of these activities, and I can see where the total costs have gone up, gone down, so I can spot immediately where my problems are. There's no point in having this just stuck in a tool. I want a hard copy. So by selecting Publish and Publish to Excel, there will be a separate sheet for every single one of these icons. So if somebody hasn't got Fuse, they can have a hard copy of where their problems are. I can select any field I like. So if I select More, I can then select any field that's been imported to do my analysis. And I want to look at baseline duration. I want to see if anyone's been fiddling their plan and changing the baseline without me knowing. So if I now go back into this one and click baseline durations, this, by the way, has shrunk because I've got a widescreen laptop and the projector has put it back into normal view. As I scroll across the plan, there's been no baseline durations, but in my revised baseline, it's showing me all the changes. So this is a very simple way of comparing a current baseline to a previous baseline and seeing where changes have occurred. Okay. We cleansed the schedule earlier on, and if I click any one of these items, no remaining cost, it's actually showing that in the cleanse schedule, there's been no difference to remaining durations or finish dates or start dates. If I click on this one here, it's come back in your cleanse schedule. It's showing you it's been a 2-day difference, and that's because the algorithm in Fuse is slightly different to the algorithm in Microsoft Project. When I suck this cleansed plan back into Microsoft Project and do a time analysis, those 2 days will disappear. That doesn't happen with Primavera. With the Primavera algorithm is the same one as in Fuse. It's only in MSP where you get these 2 days difference, caused by the milestone date. When you put a milestone date in, it's normally the day before. Okay. If I now go back to my projects, and I want to compare my cleansed plan, I just want to see if I have got any redundant logic left in here. So if I select this initial draft, and it's now confirmed that there are no redundant logic. So the cleansing process has actually cleared out all those redundant links. When I come back into my analysis, I can trace path through a plan. So by coming into trace, I can trace a path. I can select a path from, we'll say, define strategy to acceptance. I've lost my OK. Okay, the screens, I've lost my screen on this one. I can't press OK. Never mind. If I click into here, initial draft, I can select any activity along here and say OK, define strategy, and I can do a trace this way, which will show me all those activities leading up to that activity and all the activities leading from that activity. And when I do that, you can see the logic. It's a bit difficult to read, but if you expand, if you zoom in into here, we'll be able to see the logic a little easier. Okay? We've talked about metrics a lot, so if I briefly go into metrics, these are all the metrics that come with Fuse. There's about 250 of them. You don't need to be an IT expert to actually write a metric. If I go into high float, it's just simply to say I want to look at all plans and in progress, I want to look at normal and milestones, and all I want to do is say total float is greater than, and I can type in a number, so I could change it to 60, and I've got a new metric now. Okay, and for example, the tripwire formulas, I can say auto-calculated. Therefore, creating your own metrics or modifying metrics that are there are fairly straightforward. I could copy metrics, I can delete metrics, I can move them up and down, and I can save metrics as my own metric library. So I could create a metric library called big projects, small projects, medium-sized projects, and use those metric libraries all over the place. They're fairly small, easy to email to people or stick on a server. If I went back now into my analysis and went back to my basic, what's happened now is that the metric will be different because I've changed it from 44 days to, there we go. So now I'm down to high float is down to 8 activities. I think it was a bigger number earlier on. Okay? To make things easier, I don't have to show all of these metric groups on the bottom of the screen. If we're not using risk, you can hide these metric groups, and slowly, as people's skills get better, you can open up these metric groups. These metrics are not deleted, they're still sitting inside the metric library, they're just not being displayed on the ribbon view. Importing data. Excuse me. Importing data is very, very simple. I could say, okay, I'm going to import a new project, so I'm going to take a project from, are you mainly Primavera users? Okay. So I'm going to import a Primavera project, and I think I've got one in here, and so let me take this one. So to import this project, all I have to do is to do a right mouse click, and it'll start to so I've done no special skills, no special linking, no special nothing. So what that's doing now, it's a plan of 7,500 activities. So I've imported, there we go, I've now imported this plan of 7,500. So there's no skills required in importing the plan. And as soon as I like, I can start to analyze that plan. Okay? So I can fuse that. I can look at it by WBS. So I could say, let me go to level 2 of the WBS. So within about So within about 5 minutes of having Fuse installed, you can start analysing a Primavera plan. Okay. If I come down through here, we can see that, okay, it started to look at that plan. So very, very quickly, I can start to analyse the plan. Minimum skills required, minimum knowledge required. You can download Fuse straight off the web, and that's it, up and going. The metrics are there. And to actually show you that all the data's been imported, if I go and look at fields, what Fuse has done is it's known that this file contains a lot of user fields. So down here, it's found all those user fields inside the XCR file and automatically imported them. Okay, that's about the end of the demo. I mean, I could go on and on, but that's showing you the key features of Fuse. I don't know if you want me to show any more, or if you've got any questions, or you can have a proper demo outside where
15.
we're on stand 15. Or if you wanted a WebEx, I can do a proper WebEx using a plan of your type of work, if you like. Or I'll even use one of your plans, if you like. If you wanted to email me a plan, I'll do an analysis of one of your plans for a WebEx, if it helps. But that's Fuse. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Let me do it at the top level. I'll do a. Chosen the big one now. I'll do what they call executive briefing. I'll do it in Word. Yeah. This in effect is a mail merge. Okay. all it's doing. Come on, Word. All it's doing, it's taken these numbers and these values from this ribbon, and it's putting some nice. There we go. And so there's an executive briefing. There's a little story at the front. So that's. Can you read that? Okay, and it's going along, and it says, you know, it's getting worse over time, better over time. So it's going down, and that's a report that you could set up your own template. This is an XML template. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Or alternatively, if you wanted, you could go through and do a ribbon view, which is just a simple picture of those ribbons, which you could cut and paste them into. There we go. It's just taking those ribbons like that, and so if you just wanted to cut and paste the colours or the shapes into a report, you could do that. Or alternatively, no, that's just that is just for the metric group that I had open. Yeah. Okay. What you would tend to do then is to down here, where Dietz was talking about the API, you can actually set up your XML to say export just the current analysis view or export all analysis views. So this is where you would end up with your file, and then you may use Crystal Reports or something else to make it nice and flash. Okay? Yeah, this is these are the DCMA metrics. These 14 here. So any report that I do from this screen, unless I use my setup one, will just include those 14 metrics. Things like logic, for example, if I do a report in logic, what happens in logic is that there's a separate page done for each one of those icons. And so here, I've got a sheet of finish-start relationships, start-start relationships, lags, leads. So on logic and forensics, it does the whole lot with a separate sheet in Excel for each one of those icons. Yes, every single one. If you wanted a complete listing of all the activities, what you would do is to come into here and go publish, and that takes every single activity that was imported and just throws it into Excel. And the file can be quite huge, to be honest, if you've got a big project. Here I've mixed and matched, Primavera with MSP, but you can mix and match, and I could have a snapshot or a progress update in a different planning tool, or I could have 4 projects that I wanted to compare. It's how you want to work. If you're doing a tender, or you've got 4 submissions, you could suck in all their 4 plans, even on different formats, and actually compare their plans. Which ones are good on logic? Which ones are good on resource? Which ones are good here? Okay, is that all right?
Is there any limit to the number of activities?
I haven't hit one yet. According to the Acumen, the software, the guys who wrote the software, and if you can trust them, well, I don't know. They've said that they've imported plans of 100,000 activities. Okay, I did a 17,000 activity with 5 or 6 progress updates, and it was fine. And on your PC, it doesn't matter if it's Vista, XP, or Windows 7. It doesn't matter. Obviously,
Yeah, the import file will obviously differ if you've got a file.
I've got,
This is a standard machine.
this is the 4 gigabyte laptop. I've also got an XP with 2 gigabytes. It's not much slower at all, to be honest. It imports Primavera slightly faster than Microsoft Project, but Microsoft Project is still not slow. Is that okay? Thanks.